Hey everyone, so today I wanted to address a topic that we haven't really got into on here. It's more of a short video, but I'm gonna try and make it worthwhile for a few minutes. But you've had a lens pop out, now what do you do? Let's look at some of the different lens types, the different frame fitting types, and what you can do about it in certain situations. I'm not gonna get into the completely rimless frames for reasons we'll talk about later. So let's take a look at some of those things. For starters, if you're new here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. If you're not new here, hit the like button so I know I'm helping you. And yeah, we'll get into this. So, it happens from time to time. Either lens doesn't fit, the dog whacks you in the face. It happens, life happens, right? So at the end, we've got this situation, and actually this is one, I chose this in particular because it's a very different type of mounting you'll see, and that is we've got the plastic rim seated inside of a metal chassis. A little bit different for mounting these, but typically they're going to be edged in a way that this lens can go pretty easily in and out. You'll mount it like a typical plastic frame. In this case, you're not going to need to heat that because this lens is cut a little bit smaller. If it is a full plastic frame, you might have to apply a little bit of heat depending on who mounted the lenses and what they were filling that day. We all have our different style for cutting lenses. Some like them super tight. Some of us know that is a super bad thing in the types of frames we use. This one we're just going to do right here because it's pretty easy. You will take the thinnest part of the lens, in this case that is that nasal edge on mine. You're going to mount that side in loosely. You can see I've got that edge still sticking out there. And you'll slowly work that around top corner to bottom corner. The reason you want to start with the thinnest edge in is because if you put a ton of pressure on that, you can crack or chip that pretty easily. So then you just want to work your fingers around, mount that bottom edge. Now we can see we've got just this little top edge here, a little bit of pressure, slowly, gently, and that reassuring snap as you crack the entire chassis. No, I'm kidding. So there you go. It's that easy. If you need to swap a lens, the inverse is true. You'll want to take that thicker edge out first. Again, that is this one on this lens. And you can kind of feel around with your fingers and see where the thin point is. Sometimes it's going to be all the way out here. If you have a plus in your prescription, super easy, it's there. If they're just demo lenses or blue light blockers, the safe assumption is the thinnest edge is going to be this outer edge, so go more in that top middle. Oftentimes that's going to be the thinner part of the frame too, so it works out to just a little bit of pressure and bring your fingers around and there, we're done. That easy on these guys. That's going to be kind of the same whether you've got a metal frame or one of these that has that plastic trim ring insert, because again, with these, they do have to be cut a little bit smaller. That's why I grabbed this frame. It's got a more shallow bevel. It's easier to work with, so really easy to show it on camera. Now, the full metal frames, a little bit different ball game. Odds are you've got a loose screw and that's why it came loose. This is one I actually just cut, so it's already mounted, but I just want to show you the screw location because I hope you know how to turn a screw already. If not, go see someone else because you're going to wind up scratching the lens and it's just a bad day. Hell, I even miss and scratch a lens sometimes. But essentially you want to look at this wire that goes around the frame. Obviously you won't have your lens in there. It'll be on the floor somewhere and hopefully you've got a friend that can help you find it. But what you're going to look for is just where this wire goes around. You'll look for a place that has a screw hole. In this case, right here on that edge, but you do want to make sure that is welded to this. I have run across one frame in all my years of doing this that had a false screw. The screw came out, but it didn't do anything. I'm going to let that sink in for a minute. I text the company when that happened. I was like, dude, what the? Yeah, that was a fun day. Anyways, so you want to find where that's at. Odds are the screw is gone or stripped or both. Those are always fun. In that case, you do want to take it somewhere because we typically have a lot of screws on hand that are a little bit different sizes. You can step that up, self-tap, new screw, done and done. That does ruin the barrels, so that's one thing to be aware of. You do want a proper screw if it's not stripped. Easy. That's all I've got on the metals. You want to look for where that little nugget is, because that has your screw that holds this in place. Most often it is going to be on that far temporal edge, hidden behind the thicker part of the metal frame. Obviously that's right here on this one. On occasion, and this is pretty unusual, but it does happen. I've actually got a frame sitting over here with it right now. There's one eye on this way, but the mounting will be inside. It's unusual, but it does happen. And that's, in that case, typically you'll see it integrated with the pad arm or hidden by the pad arm. So it is a little harder to get to in those cases. Those are more easy to scratch your lenses up. So definitely be careful if that's what you've got. This one is going to be the most common. I thought I couldn't reach it. So this is going to be your most common lens popped out failure, and that is where you have the metal frame or plastic frame or whatever across the top and there's nothing on the bottom. Well, there is something on the bottom. It's a little nylon cord. In most cases it's nylon, and that's great for you, and that's for a couple of different reasons. The primary one being that it's super easy to work with if the lenses do pop out. Say you've got some sunglasses that have this mounting style. You don't have prescription lenses, but you still want both sun lenses in there, right? It's not critical to you seeing, but it is kind of important that they're both there, right? Yeah. So these, you will actually take one of these little guys, and it really, this is just a piece of that little strap that comes on all these packages. So they're usually white or yellow or something like that. I just happened to get some black ones. I was like, hey, that's cool. We're going to use those. Don't do that because you can't find them. Dark desk. Yeah. So this guy, you'll take that sharp point and, well, if it's cut at a sharp point, that's easier for removing the lenses. I'll show you both of those. This one I really wanted to do separately recorded, so I did. We'll get that rolling here. But essentially what you want to do is you want to take this little thing, stick it through so it's behind the cord. You'll insert the lens, mount it across that top edge, and then just lock it in place. Super easy, super simple. The opposite of these, you do want to finish with the thicker edge. So you want to start at the thinner edge for mounting these and finish at the thicker edge. So that's true whether it's a non-prescription sunglass or whatever. Odds are it's going to be thicker at one point than the others. These are super easy to chip and damage in the process of mounting the lenses. So do be careful about that if you're doing that. If you're unsure or just afraid to do it, just run by an optical shop. Hell, even here, as much as I am not about doing things for free, I will usually do that too. But it just takes a second. Now, here's the catch. There's always a catch. If that happened and you were doing absolutely nothing wrong at the time, nothing hit you, the lens literally just popped out of the frame, odds are that cord's too loose. So we can tighten those up. It's a pain. We'll hate you, we'll scowl at you and everything else under the sun for bringing us one that's loose. But we can do it. Now, if you know the cord is nylon, it's easy. Take your little favorite lighter before you mount the lens back in there. Give it just a tiny, tiny bit of heat. Don't put the open flame on the cord. Put it down from it without the lens in there. That's going to shorten this cord ever so slightly. Now it's not going to happen again. You're going to have a harder time mounting it. If you do it too tight, you're not going to be able to get the lens back in there, and or you're going to break the cord, and then we will charge you for putting the lens back in if we have to put a new cord in it, because that is a 10, 15, 20, 30, 1 hour, depending on how the frame is made. It's a tedious job. It can be tedious. It can take a few seconds if we're lucky. It never takes a few seconds. I've never been lucky enough that when one of these cords snapped, oh yeah, that's super easy. There's no problem there. In, done, lace it. Done. So that's the main one I wanted to address today, because that is the most common. Happens to sunglasses, happens to regular glasses. It just happens. It's life, right? We get hit with something, the lens goes flying. That's the one that goes flying out of most of the time. The completely rimless frames, which are the drill mounts, so you've got the two little pieces here, the one piece here, and nothing else, right? No frame around the rest of the lens. Those are a little trickier. So there's different mounting styles for all those. It could be a nut and washer. It could be just the silhouette style, which is just two little studs that go into a nylon bushing or a hard plastic bushing or whatever whoever is using at the time. Those, the reason I didn't want to get into it on this video is because of the various mounting styles and because it's very easy to damage the lenses when you're trying to put that back in. So say an emergency, it pops out, it's the silhouette style, which is the little compression bushing in there. Sure, grab it, squeeze it back together, just finger pressure, just push those edges back together, push the studs into the bushing, hopefully it's still there, and just take it somewhere. Run by an optician, optical shop, whatever, somebody preferably that carries and works with rimless so they'll have the tools to put it back together properly. That'll get you by for now. It's less than ideal, but it'll hold enough. It's gonna come apart easily. Don't do that and then just go on about your day. You need to go somewhere and get that fixed properly. It's gonna take a new bushing and the proper pliers to actually seat that back down the way it goes with the right amount of pressure. That's why we're not getting into that, because it needs to be done right. And you don't have the tools to do it. They're not cheap either, so yeah. So that's all I've got. Hopefully this helps some of you if you have a lens that pops out regularly. Hopefully you don't, but life happens. So that's all I've got for you today. If this helped you out, let me know down in the comments if you think I'm a rambling idiot, which I probably am, but I know things. Feel free to throw that in the comments too. Why not? We have fun here. Well, I have fun here. I think some of you do too anyways. I'll catch you next time.